Hello, people. So I'm not going to stay on too long. I just want to, well, I never do stay on too long, do I? Not compared to other YouTubers. But I want to talk about something that I've actually noticed a while ago, and I've mentioned it on one of my videos, but I can't remember which one it was. Oh, I remember. It was when people started to really notice, black women started to expand their options when it comes to dating. And I saw a lot of the pro-black people, and I know, I don't pay attention to them. I know what they were doing because of the commentary that comes from other women that's more on the divested side that I'm subscribed to. And then they talk about what some of the pro-blacks were doing. But I never actually watched them myself because I don't want to, you know what? I don't like giving people like that my energy. It's not that I believe a word they saying, but I don't even want to waste time looking at them. That's just how much nonsense a lot of them talk. But what I wanted to say is that I said this on my channel last year in the video about don't let them get you stuck in timelines. Don't get stuck in timelines. And it was because a lot of black people who were uncomfortable with the shift that some black women were making, they were uncomfortable with that. They were uncomfortable with black women expanding their options, whether it's being with a non-black man or just going her own way. And they wanted to bring back slavery. They wanted to bring back rapes. They wanted to bring back a lot of things. They wanted to bring back Jim Crow. They wanted to bring back all of this trauma that black women of the past have gone through to stop others from leaving and expanding their options and living their best life. So what I'm noticing now is that I still see the same attempt to try to take black women backwards. But I'm going to say this, because I already know, like, if you're already grown like me in your 40s and your mind is already made up that you don't pay attention to that stuff, then to be honest with you, the programming is not for a person like me whose mind is already made up. See, some people would get on and say, oh, I don't watch that stuff. Well, see, the thing is, if you're already grown and you're in your 30s and 40s and maybe 20s, that type of program is not for you anyway. It's actually for the younger generation that's coming up. That's who that's for. It's not for people who are already grown, okay? And reason why, because I told you, I said it's a hierarchy. Somebody has to be at the bottom and somebody has to be at the top. And if you're going to have black women living their best life and expanding their options and moving away from what's called Blackistan, then black women would no longer be at the bottom. Now, true enough, you still might have, your pick-me-shas, as you say, and, different groups of women that choose to stay behind. But for the most part, see, what's going to happen is it's just going to be a big divide. It's going to be a big divide. But the people who are at the top, or, the people who are higher, who are considered higher in status than black women, they're uncomfortable with that. It can't even be divided. It can't even be 40% black women walking their own way and 60% black women who stay, because that 40% can still grab more people, right? So they're doing everything they can. And like I said, okay, so I'm going to say, so I don't stay on too long, I'm going to say some of the things I see that's happening right now. First of all, Queen and Slim. I know people say that's a struggle love movie, but what they're doing is that they're trying to bring you back to a time where black people were being unfairly treated. And they're making it look like how it's this notion of nobody understands black people like each other because they can relate to each other through struggle. So, like that sex scene that was in the car in Queen and Slim. How they switch back and forth between that and stop shooting us. It was some protest going on and they were saying stop shooting us. And then they switched back to Queen and Slim in the car. Okay. Queen and Slim, okay, the characters in that movie wasn't even there at that protest. They didn't even have any knowledge of that protest. So the fact that they kept switching back and forth between those scenes when those two people were never even there and had no knowledge, to me, it showed that that black black women and black men relate to each other through struggle. They're basically saying that struggle brings them together. That's what they're saying. And it's this woman that was on OWN, and I think it's called Speaking. It's some show where women it's a show that Oprah has now where women speak, and they talked about colorism. And one lady, it was another show where some, now I don't watch it, but see, like I said, I watch some of the YouTubers that I'm subscribed to, and they spoke about this, how some lady was saying that nobody will understand her like the black man because of the struggle and all that stuff. So they trying to bring back the fact that black women and black men are bonded through struggle. Okay? But I did see the movie, and I have to say it was a pretty good movie. It did not sway me, but like I said, I'm already stuck in my ways. My mind is already made up. So I can see stuff like that and not be persuaded into any kind of black struggle or any kind of pro-blackness, because I'm beyond that. I wasn't a pro-black person before, okay? And I'm definitely not one now. So, you know, like I said, those kind of movies are not to program people like me, because my mind is already made up. It's for the younger generation coming up. But I will say I did believe it was I thought it was a pretty good movie, but I saw what they were trying to do. And oh my goodness, if anybody of you seen it, talk about the end of that movie. Now, a couple of YouTubers talked about what happened to both of them at the end, you know, the ending part, and what happened to the woman and who shot the woman. That was very telling, okay? That was very telling, and I questioned the writers and the producers, which I believe were black women. What do they know about the occult or something like that? Because the way it happened, and the person who actually did the shooting to shoot this black woman, it just makes me wonder, why was this certain person picked to shoot this lady? You know, tells me something. It tells me something that a lot of black women are aware of, probably the battle of the matriarchs. Okay, but I don't want to give away too much, because I don't know who all seen the movie. I know people say, I don't want to see it. It's that struggle of, well, it doesn't bother me. You know, now maybe a year ago, I wouldn't want to see stuff like that, because the things that black people would do would just get on my nerves so badly that I couldn't watch stuff like that. But now I'm at the point, I don't care what black people do. I literally, when I say I disconnect spiritually from them, I'm not playing. And when you could spiritually disconnect from a group of people, whatever they do ain't gonna bother you, you know? But now I want to say this. I saw something interesting on Successful Ladies Live. I don't mean to keep calling out people's names, but at the same time, I don't want to take the credit from anybody else either. So, something interesting. You know, I made an audio about Lizzo. See, I can't remember her name because I don't know these people. That I don't know their music. I don't listen to anything like I used to. Lizzo. And, you know, my last recording, I was talking about how people felt like she was being picked on because she was black. And I said, I seriously doubt it. Now, I can see people talking about her weight. I can get that because people do fat shame and all that stuff. But with the backlash that she getting ain't because of her race. Because I talked about in that video, in that audio, how other groups of women cannot get away with, especially if they're plus size and they are single like her. And those women get as a public figure where they represent their communities. I said before that those different groups of women from those other communities would not get away with that. As a matter of fact, they would be shut down. They would be canceled. Because when you have a woman with that kind of popularity, she can represent, you know, your nation. She can represent your communities. And like specifically, I talked about Asian, Chinese people, you know, and Indian, you know, how they probably wouldn't have it from their group of women. So that's why I talked about how Lizzo actually has a lot of privilege, more privilege than people understand, you know. because actually black women don't have to worry about the community canceling them, because there is no community. So how is the community going to cancel black women when there really is no community? So that's why I say black women, actually, when it comes to that, black women have a lot more freedom. Now, it's not saying that black women are not stereotyped. I'm not saying that. But when it comes to that, they don't have to worry about being shut down by the community. They don't have to be worried about their community shutting them out. Okay, because it's nothing to fear. If the black community shut out a black woman, it's nothing to fear, because the black community never offered her anything anyway. The black community never offered her anything but abuse and hate. So the black community shutting off a black woman compared to the Chinese community shutting off a Chinese woman, the Chinese woman will suffer more because she benefited from her communities. The black woman does not benefit. So if they shut her off, they might do her a favor. Okay, so that's what I meant by that. And so I was looking at Successful Ladies Live, and she was talking about the story of Sarah Bartman. And I think I'm going to link her video below so you can go see it. But it's Successful Ladies Live, and she was talking about the story of Sarah Bartman, South African woman, that was used as like a slave to be put on display, had her dancing and over-sexualizing her, by her masters. Her masters were over-sexualizing her, So now, I read the story of Sarah Bartman before. I think she was under the impression that she was going to be able to do something for money to take back to her family. Now, I think I remember the story of Sarah Bartman. She was under the impression that she was going to do some work for the Dutch, these Dutch men, if I'm saying it correctly, if that is their culture. And she was under the impression that she was going to do something totally different to make money, because they were poor and she wanted to bring it back to her family. But it ended up she was tricked and she was kidnapped, and then she was like caged like an animal, and they had her on display and having her doing all these crazy dances and had her on display to the world with her butt and all that stuff. And so Successful Ladies Live kind of compared what's going on with Lizzo right now, and how they what they're doing with Lizzo, and how they're having Lizzo as this example, and comparing it to the Sarah Bartman story. And I'm telling you, that makes a whole lot of sense. Okay, so that's the second way I was saying that they're trying to take you back into a timeline. Now, according to her, from what Successful said, they trying to take you back further, like 100 years, during a time where black women weren't seen as nothing but able to make babies and have sex. Because right now, by black women starting to expand their options and starting to love themselves more, and take better care of themselves and date different groups of men, they're no longer going to be seen as a woman who's only good for being pregnant and having sex. Because now a lot of black women are leaving, even if it's 30 to 40%. That's a high number. Even if 60% stay behind and 40% move on, that's still pretty high. That's pretty high. It's so high to the point that it's noticeable, and you have mainstream media doing everything they can to pull black women backwards. So, to be honest with you, I know some people, including me, have said in the past how so many black women want to stay behind. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of black women were moving on, because the mainstream media wouldn't go to these lengths to make sure black women stay behind if it was not noticeable. And in order for it to be noticeable, that means that black women were making some moves. Okay, a lot of them were, but it was divided. But it was a huge chunk that was walking away, and that's what's scaring them. And so they want to use the media to over sexualize women again. And once again, black women are divided on Lizzo, and agreeing with what Lizzo does. But that's just how it's going to be. Now I want to talk about this third one. So I am subscribed to CK's newsletter. What's her blog? Her blogs, Beyond Black and White blog. Blogs. I've been subscribed to that, I don't know, for the past 4 years or so. And so recently she came out with this article talking about a remake of Good Times. Okay? And I'm going to be honest with you. She said that she liked Good Times the least. I'm going to be honest with you. I did not like Good Times. I didn't like Good Times. But they used that show Good Times as the epitome of blackness. They used this family out of all the sitcoms that came out, especially in the 80s. You had Family Matters. I don't know if that was the 90s. I think that might have been the late 80s, 90s, but you had A Different World. You had The Cosby Show. You had, regardless of what happened with Bill Cosby, I'm talking about the actual show. You had The Cosby Show. You had Family Matters. You had A Different World. And you had your other shows that shows black people in poverty, but it's like they wanted to concentrate on black people in poverty. And so they're bringing a remake of, I forgot just what I was talking about. What was the name of it again? That show with JJ and James, Good Times, Good Times, Good Times. Sometimes the words just leave my head and I have to bring it back. Good Times. They bring it back. Good Times. They want to bring back when the wife and the husband was struggling. They want to bring back the kids and the wife doing everything she can and the wife having everything on her shoulders. Now, in the Cosby Show, Claire Huxtable ain't have everything on her shoulders like that. She looked nice and she looked feminine. She looked like she didn't really have a care in the world. But you look at Good Times, even though James was a hard-working man, still Florida Evans looked like she still carried the world on her shoulders and she was overweight. I'm not, no offense to her. I'm just saying how they want to portray her. She was overweight. She was the woman that was carrying all the weight, kind of like the mammy type of role. She would be the one who would play a maid in one of those shows like Hattie McDaniel played. She would be one of those women that played, maybe a maid in Gone with the Wind or something like that. So they wanted to bring that look back. I don't know who's playing her character, but I'm just saying I see what they chose to bring back, which is Good Times, and it's a show about how black people struggled. And so that show, of all the shows, and I've actually heard other YouTubers, when I used to listen to this lady, it was Yvette Carnell. I stopped listening to her because I didn't want to get into all of that black politics. I didn't want to hear all that stuff. I don't want to hear anything about no struggles. But I remember her talking about how the Cosby Show and other these middle class shows, they just weren't relatable. She felt like it wasn't real life. And so, a lot of black people do feel like Good Times is the epitome of blackness, when there's quite a few of black people that have not had that experience of Good Times. I haven't had that experience of Good Times growing up, and it's a lot of black people that have not had that type of experience of poverty. A lot of them don't, but that's what they want to push. They want to push black people in poverty. I was listening to somebody talk about Beyonce. It was some kind of vlogger talk about Beyonce, and they talked about how she started off struggling and she worked her way to the top. And I'm thinking like, no, I watched several documentaries about Beyonce and I don't recall her struggling like that. It looked like she pretty much grew up middle class. I mean, I saw the house that she grew up in Houston, Texas, and she was in a nice house. It looked like Beyonce pretty much grew up middle class, but they trying to make her out to seem like she was some poor person growing up in the projects and worked her way up to the top. Okay? So anyway, what I'm saying is, because I'm going to end this, that I see that they're trying to push this poverty consciousness narrative, specifically on black women, not just on black. I don't think they're pushing it on black men. I think they're really trying to push it on harder on black women. And this thing with Lizzo and comparing it to Sarah Bartman, I thought that was a very good comparison that Successful Ladies Live did. And then that Queen and Slim, I saw what they were doing with that. But then they showed at the end, what happened, and that made me feel some kind of way of of what happened, and it didn't have anything to do with struggle and racism and all that stuff. It had everything to do, in my mind, with the battle of the matriarchs. Okay, with the Battle of the Matriarchs. But anyway, you guys, I'm gonna see if I can get Successful Ladies live video and link it below so you can see the comparison to Sarah Bartman and Lizzo. And let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon.